Get in, nerds. We are playing Victoria 3. This is going to be our last run. Or our last episode. Not our last run. This is going to be our last episode of the Great Qing run. We've been very successful. We've established a vast empire. And I'm feeling pretty rock solid about it. I am going to take Sind, I decided. I can live with the infamy. I got a little bit of influence. Can I improve relations with Carnatic? I cannot. I'm a little bit short on influence. And I'm only improving relations with Japan. Are there any diplomatic things that I can dispense with? Russia is embargoing me, but that doesn't really matter to me. Not really. Not really. Well, it'll have to be what it is. Is there anyone I can rival? Oh, there are actually quite a few countries I could rival. I could rival Austria. I could rival Russia. And Great Britain, which I will do. That's funny. I didn't realize I wasn't rivaling them. Alright, Carnatic. You know what? I became recognized, and I just completely forgot that, like, now I could rival major powers. That's very funny. Alright, let's see if we can't turn Sind into a protectorate. Yeah, it doesn't look like anyone's gonna step in. If Great Britain steps in, I'll just stomp on them like I just did. So we'll do this. It's gonna give us a little bit of infamy, but it's fine. It's fine. Do I send the largest army? I think I send my largest army. I've got actually two fronts. One in the north in Afghanistan and one in Makran. I'm gonna send a smaller army, but still an army to the south. I must be careful with these things. That's a flag I haven't seen on Sind before. What are you doing over there? Ooh, there's Congressional Ignition. Excellent. Wonderful. And I've got a lot more Universal Suffrage Parliamentary Republic. That's what that is. Well, that's fun. And I've got a lot more oil now that I've got Japan in the power block. So let's go to automatic doors. And then we'll knock out the rest of military. Stormtroopers... No. Let's do concrete fortifications to mobile armor. We'll just barely get there by the end of the game. A little bit of a uprising going on in Greece. Gonna ignore that. Something going on in Bhopal. Once again, gonna ignore that. No. Something going on in Anhalt. Gonna ignore that. And by something, I mean a war. It's always a war. There's always the thing that's going on as a war. Speaking of which, I've got a small... Ooh! Zeppelin unlocked. Hey, you know what? Actually, I could survey a skyscraper site. I don't know if I'm going to be able to build the skyscraper before the end of the game, but I might be able to. Let me see. Should have thought of this sooner. It'll take 1 year. Can I build a skyscraper in less than a year? I don't think so. But it's still worth it. I got plenty of bureaucracy. Plenty of bureaucracy to play with. Alright, we're going to mobilize this other coastal force. Put them over here as well. Just want to make sure both my fronts are defended. Don't want to invest in the Neged. And it doesn't look like anyone's actually going to step in on this Sind thing, so we should be good to go. I did take Baroda already. I can make them do a policing. But I'm not going to. I'm not going to interfere in their affairs. I'll interfere in Japan's affairs. Let's see, an elective dictatorship. Interesting. An autocratic parliamentary republic. That's quite curious. Interesting, very interesting. Yeah, I don't feel any need to interfere in how Japan runs herself. She'll be just fine the way things are. Wow, yeah, relations with Carnatic are absolutely terrible. Due a promotion. The petite bourgeoisie demand the promotion of Major General Sun Yat-Sen, touting his history of loyal and effective service. So many medals adorned his jacket that one could scarcely see the fabric beneath, but it was not yet enough. Chest puffed out with pride, the general smiled, as he imagined the look on Dong's face when the field marshal learned of his imminent ascension. Their rivalry was legendary among the officers. At last, he would have his due. Sun Yat-Sen has earned it. Stronger petite bourgeoisie, or happier petite bourgeoisie, or the petite bourgeoisie will not force her hand to become unhappier and make the literati happy, and he gets reduced popularity. I'm going to say he's earned it. It's completely fine with me. A lot of places in Japan have low construction efficiency, probably due to radicals. Does Japan have a lot of radicals? Can I see that here? Japan has a very low standard of living. Well, that's a shame. Yeah, a lot of radicals in Japan, actually. Japan, do you have policing? You do, and it's not good. I see. The shogunate are very resistant, and the heimin as well. Can't really solve that one for you, Japan. You're on your own. I could force them to not be a dictatorship, but I don't. It would be appropriate. Kind of. I don't know. I'm not gonna. Maybe I will. Temptation size lunch. Let's not get involved in Mecklenburg while we're in the middle of a bunch of other things. Don't need a trade agreement with you. So, okay, proletarian revolt in Carnatic. Sind has become a protectorate. Armies are mobilizing to assist with this other thing. I'm going to demobilize the 5th Field Army and the 4th Field Army. We're just going to do this with coastal forces. I think this will be fine. We are improving relations with Carnatic. I think once we're on the same side of a war, relations will be even better. So what else does our market need? While we're working on things, we really need more motor industries. It's kind of motor industries all the way. Am I building more infrastructure in Inner Mongolia? I am. Cool. Was this Southern Manchuria where I built up a large industry? It was. Let's build motor industries here. Ten levels of motor industries. They will be producing cars. We'll make electric engines. And we'll build up the power plant to accommodate that. The Anti-Russian League demands action. The Anti-Russian League has requested that we establish an embargo against Russia. Successfully acting on the proposal will gain our government significant goodwill with the lobby, and that's the landowners, the scholar gentry, and to those who would refuse and prefer preserving the status quo. There was no hesitation. His response sounded well rehearsed because it was. This was a proactive man, one who spent hours pacing his chambers and anticipating attacks to come. My reply would be that we should never have allowed them to become so close to us in the first place. A friendship built upon deceit is nothing at all, and the goodwill gained from it illusory. We'll look into this, or this is not in our interest. I'm going to look into it, and in fact, Russia's embargoing us, we'll embargo them. I've got the influence now that we're successfully rivals. Empty pockets, a series of poor decisions by the corporatist movement. Got it. They're the... well, that's a shame. Has led to a notable decrease in its ability to raise money. Numerous wealthy sympathizers have quietly halted their support for the movement in its current form. We don't wish to appear partisan. Always the same refrain. The organizer paced back and forth within his tiny office, fists clenched until it felt like his knuckles were going to burst through his skin. Occasionally he stole a glance at the unopened envelopes on his desk, all of which he knew would repeat a variation on the same. Partisan. What did it mean? That they cared for something? that they had chosen to do something beyond count the money in their vaults. He had something important to do, something which would benefit society itself. They had a chance to do the same. In that light, how could partisanship possibly be bad? Perhaps it will find an alternative source of funds. 2% of pops in the capital become more loyalists and the movement gets weaker. Or everything dies in the end some faster than others, the movement gets way weaker. I'm going to do the first one. I like having a corporatist movement. We'll bolster them. We'll bolster them, and we'll bolster the modernization movement, too. And that might eventually let us get some things done. Lobby demand completed. That's making our scholar officials much happier. New mandate available. That's maxing me out on mandates. My power block is low in cohesion on account of Japan is unhappy. Again, I could go with higher vassalization. I am getting a lot of cash flow from diplomatic pacts. But again, I don't see that as productive. I don't see, like, I'm the largest economy in the world. I don't need to be siphoning more cash flow off of these smaller economies. I'm not maxed out on construction, or if I am, I'm barely maxed out on construction. So let's continue. We need some lead mines, and we need them fast. I know there's plenty of lead in the ground in Japan, so let's make it happen. Some railways and some lead mines. And we'll do the same. So we did that in Kanto, and we'll do the same here in Chubu. Railways and lead mines. So that'll put plenty of Japanese lead in our market. After that, it's going to be steel. After that, actually no. After that, it's electrics. I need to build up one of our other sources of electrics. I think Hebei? No. Shanxi? Was Shanxi? Yeah. Although they're going down in profitability, which is not ideal. I don't love that. Power plants are going down in size, so we'll just build up 5 levels here. Where else have I got a substantial electrics industry? Here. And we're going to need some power plants to make that function better as well. Wait, no we're not, because this one isn't producing those things. Radios. That's right. That's what they're called. Now, if I go to compression ignition for my mines, a diesel pump for my mines, it's going to reduce coal prices. It's going to be 5 per level. So I've got about 1,200, got about 2,000, so that's going to be about 10,000 oil that I need. So do I have that much oil in the market? Not even close. So I'm going to need to be selective about this. Let's get the gold mines. And I'm going to do the coal and the iron. So that's going to mean I'm going to need a lot of oil. It's not that bad, though. Is there oil in Korea? Just make sure I'm looking at resources. There is not. Actually, there's unexploited lead in Korea that I could use. I like lead. Wonderful. Success. Is there oil over here? In Southeast Asia? Not really. And there's the war sorted out. Feeling pretty good. I'm not actively trying to, but I would love to get up to 1 billion GDP. I don't think I've crested 1 billion GDP in this patch so far. And China's the right country to be able to make that happen. I don't think I'm going to make it before the end of the run, though. I think that's just the nature of it. I haven't been over-investing in the construction industry the way one must. Just get a couple of fleet commanders. So fast. Fleet commanders. I've outrun my, the capacity of my construction industry with the size of economic growth, so we're just going to throw a ton of construction sectors into play. You know, this isn't maybe... Like, I should have done all this sooner. But, you know, I'm playing this as if I were going to continue the run, even though I'm not. You know, and you know, who knows? Maybe I'll do a little bit of, maybe I'll run a little bit over, but that's going to depend on, it's going to depend on factors. Although I guess no, I'm not. It's not going to run over. 1.9 is going to drop in like 3 days, and then this save is going to go bad. So I guess that's really a foregone conclusion. I am not going to run this run over because the save is going to get bad, and we're going to be in a new patch, and that's going to be silly. I want you to marvel at my 200 levels of construction sectors. That's really quite an excessive amount of construction, if I do say so myself. You know, in an economy the size of China's, it's always difficult to do things like expanding, you know, trying to get, for example, enough engines to make your plantations the more efficient, automatically irrigated ones. You know, it's 5 engines per plantation, and I've got, you know, 3,000 levels of plantations. So it's kind of a non-starter until unless my engines industry is so excessive, because that's like what, 15,000 engines? That's more engines than I've got. More engines than I'm producing. So you know, it's always a little bit of a delicate balancing act. Japan is still going. Oh no, they're finally going down in Liberty Desire. Ah, because my infamy is down. Excellent. Chromatic is still going up in Liberty Desire, but that's nothing I can do about that for now. So yeah, we're running headlong into a golden age, an industrial boom, the likes of which has not been seen in many centuries. And we're having a little war in Macron. An industrial boom followed up by a military boom. There you go, that's how you do it. I never did get to do the Boxer Rebellion. I might circle back to the China run in not too long. Because I think I did some things suboptimally. Number one, I didn't get to do the Boxer Rebellion. Which only happens you have treaty ports. I might, as a challenge, deliberately lose the opium crisis, but we'll see. Let's go Guangdong Missionary School. I'm going to forbid citizens from attending, same as I always do. If you want to pause it and look at what these do, you absolutely may, but we've seen this event a number of times. Yes, there are still missionaries. I haven't expelled the missionaries yet. And I don't think I will. It's going to reduce standard of living for Christians in the country by 2, and that's pretty rough. My standard of living is pretty good. Given the amount of territory I control, closing in on 12 is a pretty rock-solid standard of living. It's not close to our European neighbors, who are rocking much higher standards. France is at 16.4, Prussia's at 21.9, Austria's at 14.7, Scandinavia at 21.3, Britain at 16.7, France at 14, Spain at 14.1, and United States 17.1, Canada at 20.1. A lot of these countries, however, are having population crises. I'm not going to count Italy, because Italy's in the middle of a a civil war, so their standard of living is going to go down. We once again saw a run with functionally no Germany. Like, I know Bavaria successfully formed the South German Federation, but like that, I'm not saying it doesn't count. It's a Germany, all right, but like it's not. It didn't become a factor in global politics. They were a minor or lower the whole game. So that's the sense in which it doesn't count. Almost done building up these mines. Obviously, these mines are not increasing the GDP of China because they're not in China, but we are providing resources that we need. Unregulated automobiles. Due to a spate of accidents, there have been calls to regulate automobiles. It is being reported that an out-of-control automobile crashed into a wall at high speeds, killing the driver. Faster than a horse and twice as heavy. If people don't see why that's dangerous, I don't know what to tell you. Stricter laws make safer streets. Reduce motor industry's throughput. Industrialists mad. People merely need to adjust. Industrialists happy. Or automobiles should have the right of way. Lower startup pops become more radical. I'm going to say people need to adjust to make the industrialists happy. I don't know what the effects of that are. Hey, the industrialists are pumping more cash into the investment pool, which is still growing at a really rock-solid clip. I have really outrun. I've really entered into a late-game economic growth spiral because I've completely outrun my ability to spend all this cash. Do we build more construction industries? I think we do. There's that revolt. Car runched. Just in time for one in Kotai. One in Kotai with a lot of fronts. And do I have the ability to reach all these fronts? I do. So we'll send 3 armies. We'll have ourselves a fun time. We'll fight a war. You wouldn't fight a war. I guess I'm going to increase the size of the construction sector again. Man. Now I'm just going buck wild on construction sectors. I'm going to spend so much steel. Slaps roof of China. This country can fit so many buildings in it. Oh yeah, I should start improving relations with Sin now that I've taken them as a protectorate, huh? Very slowly, we are solidifying our South Asian empire. We've got a lot of the major states. We don't have a Wad yet. We don't have Nepal, which we never have. And then there's others. But we've consolidated ourselves a very, very solid area. Maybe I'll just steal the Dutch East Indies. Just for funsies. Just grab that area and incorporate it into Brunei. That'd be fun. I often expand Brunei. I often make sure that there's a thick Brunei in Indonesia. Well, we sure are headed into the future in a... Oh god, it's doing that thing. Can I see the country rankings, please? Can you just let me see the country rankings? Alright, we'll do it. We'll do it like this. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to manually change the view. We'll change it to markets. Here we go. So, we are at the top of the prestige ladder with 3 times our closest competitors, Great Britain and the United States. Below them is France, then Italy, then Prussia, then Russia, Mexico, and Scandinavia, the final 2 great powers. Mexico eclipsed Scandinavia, which is wild. They probably got a defensive pact with someone so that the United States stopped messing with them. We're head and shoulders above every other country in GDP. Our nearest competitor looks to be France, which is actually at 250,000. So we're at 800 million. France is at 250 million, so lower. USA is slightly below that. Great Britain is really plateaued off. They're about equal with Russia. Prussia is just below that. Oh my gosh, Austria and Spain have both fallen to major rank, just above Canada, which is wild. Yeah, we've had a very successful run. Our population in our power block is just enormous. Obviously, there's 500 million people in China as well, but on top of that, I'm in the market view. Let's go back to the countries in conflict view. Okay, now the ledger will come up. We got billions in. We got another probably 500 million in our South Asian territories. 70, 80, 90, 100, 130, 140, 150 between those two. 167, 175. Bunch of people in Kashmir. Interesting. So Kashmir and Hindustan, so they're like 200. We got a very large population over here, and then very solid population in Japan, 37 million people. About 1 million in Borneo, and between our Southeast Asian protectorate states, looks like 6, 11, 12, 13, 20, about 22 million people all told. So we've got a huge percentage of global population, not the majority, but a pretty large number. If I could have gotten Australia, if I'd taken the time to get Australia and Canada. What? Amazing. Mexican Alaska, my happiness is complete. I never did end up liberating the Philippines or taking them over from Spain. It was something that I wanted to do. It just didn't end up getting onto the agenda. As for our politics, I think we made solid progress. We weren't really able to get welfare rights really established, but we do have compulsory primary schools, which is very solid. We kept multiculturalism, well, not multiculturalism, cultural exclusion, which is closing in on multiculturalism the whole way through. We developed universal suffrage. We also built up a little bit of an authoritarian internal affairs system and a police system. We built public schools. We didn't do healthcare. So, we partially accomplished our goals. I was never able to get off of monarchy, which is a shame, but it is what it is. We got an election running, and this is going to be probably our last event before the end of the game. Chang Lin-ri, a prominent member of the Constitutional Association, has been accused of gross corruption. He strenuously denied all the allegations until damning letters surfaced signed by him. Yes, I'm willing to discuss the contents of these letters with the committee, if only I'm given time to study the content of the communications in my personal chambers first. Of course, on my honor, I will not alter or destroy any of the evidence. Honest. They should stand by Ri and deny everything. Reduce momentum for the Constitutional Association. Shanglin Ri should be isolated to protect the rest of the Constitutional Association. He loses a bunch of popularity. Or their allies in the Constitutional Association can speak in Ri's defense. Because we've got a charismatic character in there. I'm going to say they should deny everything for reduced momentum. Yeah. And I think we'll do our... Well, let me see how much time we've got in the episode. But actually, the episode is basically done. So we'll get to the end screen, and then maybe I'll do a video tour this time. Maybe I'll just take screenshots like I have done in previous runs. But we'll see. We'll see how things look. Let's get ourselves to our end screen. A Victorian century. So we did well. We took China. China was one of the oldest arguably the oldest of the world's great powers, and we once again restored our position at the top of the rankings. All of you are going to be shocked that our most powerful population group were the bureaucrats, but that's the shape of things. China was one of the first countries to properly do civil service and bureaucracy right, so it just stands to reason that at the end of the game, the bureaucrats would still be standing strong. Majority Han population-wise, but obviously our power block contained people from many and various different cultures. We were primarily Confucian and Mahayana population-wise, but obviously various different creeds in our country as well. In terms of overall population profession, we're still majority a peasant country. You know, it's pretty difficult to industrialize a large country entirely in only 100 years. We didn't have any kind of, you know what can if you've studied Chinese history and the history of industrialization more generally, you know the problems that can come from trying to industrialize everything too fast. But yeah, we established a solid homesteader empire, well under the political lockdown of the rural folk, and to me, that's a victory. We didn't go full physiocracy. We played we played it safe. We played optimally. And we kept the Emperor in charge. We had 3 separate Emperors in the course of this run. And throughout the entirety of it, we maintained a full continuity of the Qing Empire. So I'm pretty pleased. I'm feeling pretty successful with what we accomplished in this run. And I'm feeling that there are greater things ahead for China in the timeline that we've created. We're stretching across quite a few time zones here, all the way from Afghanistan to the very, very tip of Chukotka here. And there are more territories overseas which await our conquest. For now, though, I've had fun. I hope you all have had some fun as well. If you've made it this far, give me a like, give me a subscribe. You know, I appreciate it. It helps grow the channel. And I will see you all on the other side.